back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. Time for us to talk about our young ones. Now, friendships are the spice of life. Every friendship has its own dynamic. Through them, we have the opportunity to learn more about the world, learn more about people, and learn more about ourselves. And as we've spoken about it on the show before, it is important to nurture positive friendships in our children's lives from a very early age.
Absolutely. So this morning, we're joined by Kona Brown, who is a blogger and author of The Mommy Diaries and mother to two young boys. And she joins us to talk about a blog that she wrote titled What I Told My Boys About Girls.
Wow.
Very, very interesting stuff. Great to have you with us, Kona.
Good to have you on the show this morning. Such a very, very important topic, and I'm so glad that you opened up the conversation around that. Why is it so important to start that conversation and speak to our boys about how they interact with girls and how and what is appropriate and what is not?
Yeah, I think the important thing, especially nowadays in our society, is to start having the conversation earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
Because with all of the issues around gender-based violence, especially in our society, we need to start chatting with our kids about how we value one another. And I always say to parents, any conversation you have with your kid is like a file that you open in their brain. And you must open that file first, because otherwise MTV is going to open the file. And so if they go out into the world, they measure everything against what you told them. So the conversation about girls, I say the earlier the better.
Yeah. And the conversation is part of your writings in Mommy Diaries.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. What should we be telling our little boys about girls as you open up that file fresh and you can insert whatever memories are going to be used to judge and reflect on the world? What should we tell them?
Yeah, so I think parents often say, well, what is the information? What do my boys need to know? I think that we need to have open discussions with our kids about our attitudes towards one another, because our actions come from our attitudes. So if we can start talking to our boys about their friendships and their relationships, how to be good friends, how to be people who are kind and nurturing to one another, how to notice the differences in people and value those, that is much more important than saying to them, oh, you know, you need to treat such and such in this way and you need to behave in this way. If they can start forming those correct attitudes, then their behavior will come from that.
Maybe if I could maybe just press on a little bit on this, because I'm now a father to a little boy, and this is a very important conversation that I do want to have with him one day, and I want to know what it is that I need to say. I know it sounds like a very silly question, but sitting him down and saying to him, Phoenix, we're going to have a conversation today. Yeah. What's the first thing that I say?
So when I put my boys to bed at night, I tell them, you are my treasure. And when I talk to them about girls, I say, just like you're my treasure, every person you meet and every little girl is somebody's treasure. And how do we treat a treasure? We treat it with care. We treat it with gentleness. So to help them form that picture that says, we are all this is our shared humanity. We all have dignity. We must respect one another. We must be kind to one another. So that they can actually, because remember, kids think everything is about them. Yeah. So they can actually relate that thing to themselves and say, I'm my mom's treasure. And Abigail that I pray with at school, she's her mom's treasure. She's somebody's treasure. So I should treat her with kindness and I should treat her with respect.
I think that's such a powerful thing, and as much as it's really beautiful and powerful for a mother to say that to her son, how much more powerful for a father to say that to his son and to not only say it, but to mirror that and to show him this is how a man needs to treat a woman, this is how a boy needs to treat a girl. I think that's even more powerful. And in a country like South Africa, where we have such a high rate of fatherless homes, I think it puts even more emphasis on how important the dads are in their homes.
Yes, and any father figure in your child's life, because ultimately kids are taking all of their cues from what they see first. So any male in their life has an opportunity to show them this is how we treat women, this is how we value women, this is how we speak about them and to them. So actually even our male teachers, even our coaches, they all have to take so seriously how they, you know, sexist jokes and patriarchal attitudes are precursors to gender-based violence. So actually the men in our society should ask themselves, is how my attitude towards women, does it line up with what I say I believe about our shared humanity, about our shared dignity, the fact that we are actually all equal.
Yeah. Wow. Great to have you here with us, Kona, and we look forward to continuing this conversation very shortly. The book is called The Mommy Diaries, and it is available, Kona, yes?
Yes, it's at all good bookstores and on Kindle.
Fantastic.
Parenting Talk. Now, earlier in the show, we spoke to blogger and author Kona Brown about important things to tell young boys about girls in order to foster healthy friendships between them. We are continuing the conversation with her as Kat continues to delve into her book called The Mummy Diaries.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. I wanted to read this to people because it is a serious topic that we're taking on, but the book is fun to read as well, because in this chapter where you say, well, what I told my kids about the relationship with the opposite sex, you say, you're too young to have a girlfriend, that's it. No. And then you go on to say, okay, just kidding. Of course, I had way more to say about that. But when my eldest son returned from our church's holiday club in his 11th year with a handful of notes with little flowers and hearts on them, I realized I would need to delve deeper, not into the concept of dating per se, because yes, he's too young to have a girlfriend, but certainly into relationships with the opposite sex as they develop on the other side of the 10-year-old mark. I found that quite nice to kind of kickstart that chapter with. But and then the question came up to me: is it a timing thing, or is it an age-appropriate thing? Do you wait until your son is 10 years old and then you have the conversation, or is it when you realize that you're starting to see changes in your child or your son more specifically?
I always say to parents, address your child in their season.
Yeah.
So if you have a 7-year-old who has, I mean, my son, when he was 7, his best friend Abigail was a girl, and he didn't think anything of that. And it was so great because it's a wonderful opportunity to have a conversation about how do we value the differences in people. But then, post 10, you definitely see that things are starting to change. And suddenly they don't even want to talk about it. They feel all weird about it. That is when you need to press in and talk about it, because even though it seems like they're not listening, because they're like, oh, Mom, you're being so gross. I don't want to talk about this. They are deeply interested in girls, and they are listening to everything that you're saying. So address your child in their season, and you are going to know, you know, a kid that's 10 who has older friends, he might be more interested than another kid who's 10 who has younger friends. So address them in their season, and I don't think it's an age thing. I think you're going to know the rhythms of your child's life and where they're heading in school and that's going to indicate to you.
Let's talk about the long run. How can positive relationships with girls, how can it benefit boys in the long run?
Yeah, like I said, when Riley and Abigail were friends, one of the opportunities I took was to have the conversation about why we're different. Because one of the things, like, he asked me was, why can Abby hit me but I can't hit her?
Wow.
And it's a great conversation.
It's a good question,
because, like, both of my boys are swimmers, and we measure that. Let's say we look at Chad Leclerc's time, and then we look at a female swimmer's time is also in the Olympics. And I say to them all, well, did she come first? Yes. Did he come first? Yes. Is the time the same? No. Why? Well, because she wasn't built the same way he was built. Because if we don't talk to them, how are they going to know to look for those differences and say, you know what, we all make a different contribution? I think that's so important to open that conversation up.
Is that how you address that particular question?
That is how maybe if I had Googled it, I would have gotten a better way to address it.
Because I'm thinking at the end of the day, you maybe want to bring across that it's not right for anyone to hit anyone.
Yes.
No, of course.
For girls included,
Yes. But, you know, I don't have any girls, and I'm not going to go and call Abigail's mum and say, Abigail shouldn't hit Riley, which she didn't do. It was just a thing that he asked me.
Yes.
But what I often say to them is that we are equal, but unique.
Yes.
Uniqual. We are uniqual.
Uniqual.
Yes, I wish there was such
Coin
a word.
that phrase.
Absolutely. So that they can see themselves as equal, but not the same.
What about parents that might be watching this right now and talking or thinking that in talking to your young boys about their relationships with girls, one might be starting to either ignite or encourage what is already existing in terms of their thoughts of romantic relationships or dating per se?
I always say to parents, if you think that's true, then surely talking to our kids about broccoli will make them want to eat more broccoli, and talking to them about homework would make me want to do more homework. It's simply not true. Your kids need to hear even the hard facts about the physical side of that. They need to hear it from you. They need to hear it early before MTV tells them what they need to know about all of those things. And they're interested already. They are having those thoughts already. If you're ignoring them, that's on you.
Sure.
Wow.
Oh, parents, we've got
Great
such
content,
an important job. We really
Get
do
the
well.
book.
Not
There
really.
it is.
One day I will.
There it
But
is.
the mommy diaries, what to tell your boys about their interactions and relationships with girls, really very important.
How to tackle the tough topics to raise kids with courage and character. I love that so much. Kona Brown, thank you very much for joining us. But right now we're going to be crossing over to the Belito Pro that's been going on since the 27th of June. It's on until the 7th of July. Surf's up.